I always hear that, it's not about working, harder. It's about working smarter. For me, it's like, you got to work smarter and harder. You got to be both, man.
What's up, everybody? I'm Misha Horsey, and this is the Business of Basketball. I'm here with Mike Sala of SolePack. He's going to give us all the strategies that he's learned to grow his merchandising business. So, Mike, I want to start from the beginning, right? Take me to the point from you being a physical therapist, like taking that leap of faith and saying, SolePack is what I want to start with. And then what was that like? What was the brain dump from idea to making your first sale?
Right. That's a quick story, right? I'm just kidding. But long story short, it was, I was a physical therapist, like you said. I was always, on the move. And my journey always led me from Staten Island, where we are right now, to commuting into the city. And I was a baller at trade, right? So a gym rat, playing basketball every day, carrying my sneakers to class, all that stuff. So part of me is like, I need to create a better way for me to travel with my sneakers. So I just started cutting up backpacks, make something that worked. And I didn't know what I was doing at that point with that concept, but I was like, all right, I got some original idea, original product that I could possibly create right here. And it was my initially inklings in my mind, like, I think I could, give back to the world with, this product that I could potentially develop, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I was, like I said, I was a physical therapist. I am still to this day. I didn't know that, what taking a product to market would be like, but part of me, something deep inside just said, yeah, let's give it a try. One step at a time. Let's commit to something. So deep inside of me, I knew there was something telling me that I needed to commit to this journey. I just started, I was still in school, going to class, coming back home, commuting to Staten Island, going back into the city, going to meet with pattern makers and whatnot, coming back to Staten Island to work at the hospital.
Wow.
Because I was in grad school at the time in physical therapy. I was going back into the city again at nighttime to work with small business manufacturers. So days would be like that for creating. My wife, my girlfriend at the time, driving me to the city, like, how long I had to wait here till you pick up your sample from the small business manufacturer. But it was endless days like that. So, that was the scope of maybe 5 or 6 years. Again, I had no idea what I was doing, but something within me said, one foot in for the other. Let's try to figure out how to bring this product to market. Start with a concept, the original concept that didn't exist before. And part of me at that time, you didn't know that product didn't exist, right? It was like you did initial research. You try to figure out if there was anything like it out there. You filed for the patent, and eventually that patent got approved and just started making samples. That's a whole process in itself. It was so much unknown for me at the time. I didn't have a background in design, engineering, anything like that. So I was just trying to figure out, just talking to a few people, trying to figure out how to get patterns made and how to get product made at that point.
So how did you find that small business manufacturer? Was it Google? Like,
right.
How did you even know to look for that?
Right. I think at the time it was, this is dating myself, but there's something called the Thomas Register at that time. Before there was a big database of, you could go on Google, but you would just search anywhere that would pull up small business manufacturing list. I would go to the small business library up by the garden, up by Madison Square Garden, just try to keep looking. Like, how can I get something made? It's just everything from finding a pattern to finding the accessories, the buckles, the zippers, knock on doors, see what works. And here we are. It's a long story, but all those little bits of struggle add to the journey to this day for sure.
Yeah, and then what is the process of manufacturing? Like, what does that process look like?
Currently or back then when we first started out?
Yeah.
Back then it was, all right, you get a tech pack, you submit it to the small business manufacturer. And they say, okay, well, wait, we did things overseas, so let's send that product out to China and we'll get it back in a few days. And so I'm there waiting. So it's like this waiting game. You're waiting. And like weeks come by, months come by. You say, oh, Mike, come to the office. We got the sample made. You get in there. It's like, all right, that's not how I wanted it to look like. Like the label's like crooked. There's glue holding it together. I'm like, man, it's like, what is this, man? It's like the material is like made of like light paper. So I just like, all right, that's part of the process. Let's keep going. So I just started, we went through that, several iterations of that. Then I had a friend in the streetwear business at that time, a skateboard menswear line. He's like, all right, why don't you try my guy? I think that was one of the biggest turning points where I met this dude that was like on Canal Street area. He's like, hey, Mike, let's discuss your manufacturing. So he drew another. He took my pattern. He's my pattern that I got made in the garment district. He's like, this ain't it. This ain't working. So he shovels that to the side and he starts drawing his own pattern. He's like, all right, I'll get a sample for you within a week or two. So within a week or two, I met him down back in Canal Street area, and he's like, he shows me the bag. I'm like, yo, till this day, I still get goosebumps because that sample is pretty much what you see what our product is today. So
yeah. And what's the difference now? You mentioned it sounded like there was a different process back then to now. So what's the process now?
It's never easy, right? You have to fine tune it. Whatever factory you work with, they give you something. It's like, all right, that might be it, but there's always something. The zippers aren't the zippers that you pick. The material is not breathable or water repellent as you pick. So there's always a process. But what I tell everybody is you have to put a minimal viable product, MVP out there, right? A minimal viable product and let it take its course. Because if you're waiting to put like the finalized product that's like has all the bells and whistles, you're going to be that whole paralysis by analysis waiting until 5 years go by. Didn't release a product. For me, it was like, I trust the process, what my journey is. It's very personal to you, right? It's like, it's not just a product anymore. It's you expressing yourself out in the world. It's, for me, that was very tough. Introverted by nature as a kid, shy kid, but nowadays I'll pull up, give me a podcast. I'll pull up, it's good people. Let's talk, right?
Yeah.
So part of me is like, at that point, it was like, let's put the product out there that exists and we'll kind of evolve it from there.
And you mentioned like patent, right? Having a patent. What's that process like to get a patent?
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah. That was way back when too, like early 2000 somethings, to date myself, but it was, you put your application in through a service at the time, right? It was like you find that at the time you could only find so many intellectual property patent attorney lawyers online. So I found someone from Minnesota who's willing to give it a try with me. Like I said, I gave him all the dimensions of what our product did. It was like a storage, or for those that don't know, SolePack it started as just the SP1, which is an accessory for storing your sneakers, and it wraps around any backpack. So there was no product that existed at that time. And so we provide him with all the dimensions for that. And he kind of he provided all the wording for what the product did. It's a utility patent. So based on the function of what the product did. And we kind of went, like I said, several iterations. It got turned down from the government from like just basic wording of other similar products that coexisted in that space. But then we just kind of, he worked around it, find more specific wording. Then we got approved somewhere back in the day, about 15 years ago. I'm like, yo, we got a patent. I'm like,
the greatest feeling ever.
And, and as a physical therapist, I'm like, yo, I'm getting my doctorate in physical therapy. What am I going to do? Leave my profession now to do small business, to sell a bag from the grassroots up, man? I'm like, it's like, F it, man. Let's do it, man. Let's go for this ride and see how, because other people would be like, you're a doctor in physical therapy. Why are you going to start this small business venture? I'm like, hey, why not, man? Life is short, right?
I'm about to say, what gave you that confidence?
Oh, man, it's like, we talk about it's how do you give back to our basketball culture, right?
Yeah.
So that's always within you, because you're raised playing basketball. It's part of who you are. You're part of the culture. You love everything about it, how it makes you feel, how it inspires you to keep going after things every day. And, and part of it too is I wanted to give back to, if I always told myself from day one, if I ever made it big financially in the small business world, that I give back to a lot of the patients. I don't tell this to everybody, but I want to give back to my clients, give back to things that, let's say, diseases, my patients that I work with that struggle with certain things, that I give back to foundations. So that's what drives me. If financially wise, if SolePack ever takes off, I want to give back for research of MS, brain injuries, all that stuff that I see day to day, what the real struggles in life are, for sure.
Yeah, you've always been that guy. And from the first day, we have a long history, right? And from the first day I met you, I knew that you were about community, right? You were definitely passionate about the game of basketball, which connected us. And also, like, that's who you are, right? You're super authentic, and everything you do is behind passion. Let's go back to just even starting the idea of SolePack, right? Like, was there funding involved to be able to do, right, to be able to make your first sale? Was there funding? Was it you bootstrapping? Did you have investors, anything like that?
Right, good question. It's bootstrapping from day one, bootstrapping till this day.
Wow.
It was tough. Again, everyone's journey is different, right? But mine, luckily, I was able to become a physical therapist have a few years in the job, working maybe about 5, 6 years in the job. And part of me is like, all right, let's put aside this money for something, and it's for savings, for a house, for small business ventures. I was working. And so a lot of it, from maybe, family gave a little bit of money and all my savings. I was like, let's put this into SolePack. And it's always about doing the best at any given moment, right? I'm going to make a small round of bags for right now because this is where I am. I'm not trying to I got 1,000,000 bags sitting in my closet. I'm going to sell it to every person in the world. It's like, how do I start modestly from what I have, what the blessings on your plate are, right? So it's like, this is what I got for right now, all right? I want to run 100 bags, and that's all I got for right now.
Wow.
Black, gray, let's go. Let's see where that goes, right? Twitter was taking off. Like, what's this? So it's like, I'm a small business, maybe 1 or 2 people helping out. How do I connect with people? So it's like, let's let's engage with our community that helped raise this product. Who am I going to reach out to first? All right, let's try the sneakerheads. I grew up in the sneaker culture. There's that gray area between basketball culture, sneaker culture. Let's reach out to all the sneakerheads out there. Where are they at?
Right.
So they're like, oh, Mike, this is dope. This is dope content. I could bring my grails with me everywhere I travel. I just put it in your bag and just strap it on my backpack. I was like, let's roll. I was like, all right. So people, organic communities at the time, sneaker groups, shout out to all of you, man. It's too many to name. But they're like, all right, I got this cool product. Let's do giveaways. So we're trying to maximize, leverage what's on your plate, right? It's, as a small business hustler, that's my advice to anybody. See what's on your plate. Try not to see what's not there, how small you are compared to a bigger company out there. What's in your pocket? What can you do right here with all the blessings that are on your plate? Because they're blessings. You reach out to your community members, your friends in the business. There's so much there if you focus versus, how do I, connect with this influencer that's going to give me 1,000,000 followers by tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So it's how do you connect organically with people that are going to support you? And
so it sounds like to this day you still essentially using your own money, right?
Right.
Is there any point where you think you might need investing to take it, across different markets and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, well, we're at that point right now where you can only grow so much with, things coming in. There's so many expenses they eat up any funds, any money coming through the business. So this is another tidbit is, once you start doing well in the business, side of things, you can get smaller loans that are out there. Once they prove that you're making, bringing a certain amount of money in a month, they'll say, all right, we can give you a small business loan for that. It lets you taste what it might be jumping in bed with like a bigger investor. So you got to pay these smaller loans every month. Let me make sure I could do that first. That's what I'm learning through right now. Like some part of me is, learning the ropes of that, everything we do is you're green, trying to learn everything. And so my current is, working with these small business loans, making sure I could handle that. Then that brings more money in. Let's grow a little bit more, then prove our track record. We've been in talks with investors for a while. Just part of me is like just waiting, like instincts. I'm like, now's the time, kind of thing. So I'm just trusting that process, man.
So for someone who doesn't know how the loan process works, can you talk about your experience with applying for loans and stuff like that?
Sure.
And what you need?
Right. A lot of it, is going out into the community. Like recently went through like a New York Small Business Expo, the first that they had here. You go out there, right? Expose yourself to what's currently can be a blessing on your table, what's already out there. It's not looking for some, crazy loan that didn't exist before. It's about finding, unique ways of sourcing loans. So there are plenty of outlets out there. So attend your local small business community expo that they have. If you work with any online like PayPal or something like that, they provide their online loans too. If you're on Shopify, they offer like small business funding as well. So it's out there, keep digging into what you're already plugged into, perhaps, and they'll show you certain avenues to help you grow.
Got you. Now, do you have a mentor to walk you through all this stuff? Like, it sounds like you just you bootstrap, man. You go by instincts. Like, is there anybody currently now who's helping you through this and even throughout your journey?
There may not be like, all right, I did something exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And these are the steps. There is no recipe. There's no cookbook for the entrepreneurial journey, as you know. So a lot of it is going out there, testing the fires, and put yourself through the fire and see. It's all a learning experience, right? I've had a few people that were in business, entertainment business, just guide me about the ups and downs of how ruthless business can be. Had people, like I mentioned, in the streetwear side of things that understand merchandising, understand production, to everything, every aspect of the business, fulfillment, marketing, all that stuff, and
can you
sourcing localized business.
What's fulfillment? What does that mean for people?
Fulfillment, when you have the product, actually sending it out. So anything from packaging to sending out to individual customers through e-commerce to wholesale orders from a retailer or like a team that places an order. So that's the fulfillment part. Get it in and out of your warehouse or storage, wherever it is.
And do you have fulfillment order like place? Do you do it out of your home? Like
me, my old employee number one, my daughter, employee number two, my youngest daughter. Yeah, so it's right now. It's still, if I can do it, I'm going to do it, because I still, part of me is, I want to be part of the process of the hardships of something before we, I'm never a handout kind of guy. So I want to, be part of the business as long as I can.
Yeah.
And I always hear that, it's not about working, harder. It's about working smarter. For me, it's like, you got to work smarter and harder. You got to be both, man. Because if you don't know how hard something is, what's the appreciation for wherever you end at? And what's the, you're not going to know every aspect of the business if you hire somebody and say, hey, man, you should be doing this yesterday, where, that might take like several days for something to actually take place, all the bumps in the road and whatnot. Yeah,
I remember, at least with my business program, like doing apparel, right? So the kids can be fly while they hooping, And when I was looking to do apparel, I found that like screen printing for me, it wasn't as helpful, right? In terms of like the look,
right.
Because you pay a lot for the screen printing. You don't pay that much for the shirt, but the screen print is a lot. So you got to charge more so you can make a profit. So how is it with your sports accessory, like product? How does it work with like the distribution of it all? Like, how do you remain profitable with everything that is involved in the process of making the bag?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. It's so multi-tiered, right? You're gonna have some folks where margins are always best made through e-commerce, right? Someone's coming to our website, they're purchasing on there. You have the wholesale costs and the retail, they're buying at a full price, and the margins are built in over there. Then when you're selling to, say, teams or stores, right? Say if you're working with a store, it's like, all right, the margins are slim to none, but what's the advantage? Oh, you're showing progress, that you're having some notoriety in a store, you're getting sell through a store and whatnot. So it has its advantage. It has its, benefits of showing that you do have a retail presence. Keeping in mind that myself in the back of my head is like, I'm still small. I'm going to make these margins. Maybe not now. It's maybe when I get 5-10 years from now, where I could get a bigger production line. You make tens of thousands of bags versus a couple of thousand, and that margin is going to be so it's, you have to have that mentality of a big picture if you're in it for the long run, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, if you look at your margins when you first started, like, and you're like, I'm going to quit because this ain't working. That's like, you have to know, it's like, it's not working now. I'm going to make it work a little bit better 3 years from now. I'm going to make it work a lot better 5-10 years from now. So you have to have that mentality for survival if you want to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
In the beginning, giving away 30 something bags. All right, who wants one? You're gonna make some noise with it? Yeah, go ahead. I trust you. But now it's like a little more selective, trying to handle our business more wisely, giving it to the right people that understand the hustle, the journey, the culture that you're trying to kind of put out into the world. So we're a little bit of everything as we move forward.
Yeah, let's talk marketing, right? I know we've done some work together where you've sponsored some of my events. You've also done some influencer marketing with some people. So what are some, marketing strategies that you've used in the beginning as you were building, and some strategies that you use now to get your brand out there? For sure. It's always staying authentic and organic, right, to what you're doing. I think once you do that, it's like you put out your energy in the world, and you attract the right people, right? You attract the wrong people as well, but you learn how to handle yourself, right? So you're talking to people, you throw out your energy, and you get people that are chiming in. And back in the day, it was like, all right, let's rock with it, let's roll with it. But now it's like you get in the ring with somebody, and you kind of see if they're up for it. If they only contact you once and you don't hear back, or you say hold up, they're like, I don't have time for that. They're out. I'm like, all right, it wasn't meant to be, right? Versus someone, hey, Mike, is it a good time? All right. Now it's all right, I'll check back in a little bit. And you kind of get a feel for, I handle that with everybody, from investors to manufacturers, where you tell them, like, let's keep working. Yeah, now's not the right time. Let's revisit it. And they revisit it a little bit later, and they're always cordial about it. Like, all right, it's time to rock, man. You're still in that, you're in the ring together, and everyone showed a little bit of patience, and now you're ready to roll. So
those are always the best relationships. And I find that with everything from influencers, because that's a small bit. You don't always have product to give out, right? So it's like, put the brakes. Let's revisit this at another time. And so now we try to do things as organically as we can through people that have been. That's the one thing. The longer you're in the business, you see people that are in the business for that long too. It's like, all right, man, you kind of have you've been through war together. Kind of you've seen them at certain events. It's like, hey, man, you ready to rock? Let's go. We're both elevating. Let's keep pushing, man. Let's keep pushing the needle. So that's one beautiful thing about being in the game for a while. So you get to push with people that you see part of their struggles. They're part of your struggles, kind of thing.
And then the product sell itself, right?
Ultimately. Hey, man, that's what people told me from the jump. I'm like, oh, man, this product, it makes sense. This should be on every team by tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. But it's not the process, man. It's when you're creating something that never existed before. We're not making another pair of shoes. We're not making a pair of pants. You're creating a product that never existed before.
Right. People got to believe.
You have to tell the life out of the story. You have to tell us functionally what it is. You have to tell us lifestyle, where it can fit in. It's like, how do you tell the story to give this, to nurture this product into life, right? You have to nurture a product into life. You have to, being a father now, it's like you have to do the same shit to raise your kids, to raise a product. You have to tell them, you can't just, all right, this is it. Go ahead. This thing has to live, breathe. You have to keep blowing fire up. It's like keeping a fire going. You have to keep nurturing it, and you have to get in the right hands of the right people. Stay diligent, keep doing it. But it's having a product in its own niche, had its ups, pros and cons. But like I said, we were committed since day one, Reach. So
let's talk some partnerships, right? You have a partnership with the NBA, which is a dream, I'm sure. Like growing up playing basketball, you mentioned, off camera that you grew up playing basketball in the neighborhood. You got a chance to play in high school. So every kid's dream growing up is like, I want to make it to the NBA, right? You made it from a different narrative, which is, to me, is even more special.
Right.
So talk to me about that partnership. How did that come to fruition?
For sure. And it is through our VR partners at the NBA Lab. So, shout out to our NBA Lab family. They're this disruptive, innovative firm that, bridges the gap between, NBA licensing and a small business like ours. So, when those guys reached out, they saw we had a unique product like we talked about that existed in its own right in the basketball space, sneaker space, since those worlds nationally meshed. They're like, oh, you have a great product, and like we'd love to, they'd love to work with you, and you could, do a few NBA teams. And I was like, yo, man, it's like, like you said, you dream your whole life being those positions, those positions. I was like, yo, you felt like you made it to the NBA. It's like, I go to the draft night every year type thing. So I'm like,
my God, that's so dope.
Like, yo, mom, I made it to the league somehow. Man, we weren't, it's not the traditional way, but we made it, man. So it's like, you have those moments of milestones where you reach things like that. And, shout out to the NBA. I never take it for granted how much, they give you, the rights, the control, to steer your own car with some NBA licensing, man. So, so we got that out there, and we kind of work with some initial renderings from the NBA Lab. We did like maybe 12 NBA teams to start. It was just great, kind of put a little credentials behind what you're doing, a little stamp on what you're doing, and we were able to reach out to a lot of folks. We got, we made it to the NBA store a few years ago, man. We got to work with the Dallas Mavericks last year during the finals run. So all that stuff was like, yo, it's crazy, right? You never thought, how would I get from a person, going to physical therapy school, struggling to, pay the bills kind of thing, and to, with the love of basketball, to have, an NBA license, to get into, the NBA Mavs finals arena there kind of thing during the NBA finals. It's, things just lined up, and you're just blessed for every step of the way. That's never be ungrateful for the haves you don't, the things you don't have on your plate, from the things that, you wish you had. You always be grateful for what your journey is, what's on your plate for the given moment.
That's dope. So talk to me a little bit more about the NBA Lab. Is that like a firm, like you mentioned, it was a firm who do they deal just with merchandising, or?
Yes, they are primarily like this incubator that takes, people in that gray space, not necessarily the big sneaker brands out there, or the products that exist in that, top tier world. They find niche products like myself. That's like, oh, yeah, that's a pretty dope product, like myself. There's a few other brands. It's all over. It's not just, accessory. It could be anything from like like a phone case, or various other, other types of bags or purses or whatnot. All these unique products, water bottles, anything that might have a certain message or a certain, a point of differentiation that doesn't exist out in there, and they kind of give us their blessing to have that NBA licensing, and you're ready to go. You just got to keep pushing to stay creative. Keep we love supporting through social media, all that. Just because for me, it's all family, right? It's like you get you get this partnership, and you want to being a team player of basketball, you want to contribute, bring as much value to the team as possible versus getting the license. All right, we got it, we good, right? No, it's like how much can you keep contributing to your team, your family at that time to prove your value and just keep elevating together, kind of thing.
And where can they shop? Where can they find SolePack bags?
SolePack, first off, our e-com site, www.thesolepack.com. You can shop. You can shop in stores like here, Richmond Hood Company. If you see up there, they have several of our collaborations that we've done throughout the year. So Richmond Hood's always been showing us love. NBA store in the city has a few of our NBA models out there too. The Mavs Arena, like we talked about, and a few shops, sprinkled throughout domestically. But a lot of our partners that we do collaborations with, they sell it through their independent sites too. Like For the Culture down in Philly, we did a run with them too. So all these brands, man, we trying to just collaborate with, let them grow, they help us grow. So. But thesolepack.com, man, find us online.
Let's get it. Make sure I get that. I got mine.
Right.
So it's funny because
shout out to the Brown Ballers too, man. We got the TBT tournament coming up right up, man. So they'll be
Let's get it
out there, man.
Off air, we were talking about how you didn't even know that your bag was on The Shy. The Shy is a show from Lena Waithe that comes on Showtime. I was watching the show and I was like, "Hey, Mike, did you know your bag was in The Shy?"
It was like 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. I was like,
that's a huge moment. That's a huge moment. So you didn't know that was going to happen, but what about the after effect? Was there an after effect after, your bag was on Showtime? It's crazy.
Thank you again for that, man. It was again, I was like 10 o'clock Sunday night. Like, what you talking about, man? I didn't put my bag in no shot. I don't know. It's like, she see the bag. She know what our bag looks like. Then I put it on. I was like, oh, man, there's our. He used it for the right way too, right?
Yeah,
the kid's traveling. He's traveling. He didn't want his, his private school uniform, so he's taking his sneakers out on the train, putting. I was like, yeah, that's exact utility for our bag right there. But I think same thing. So on this journey, you get little stamps, your passport along the way of for credibility that help you motivate you first of all, and give you a little motivation to keep pushing. But it just adds to your overall resume when you present to somebody. Hey, man, look who. What have you done, right? It's like, we work with the Shy, organically. We work with the NBA Lab. We work with, Venice Ball. We work with Hoops of the Sun out here. We work with, all those little things add up. So that's why, you try to treat every relationship like it's, the one and only, because, all those things add up separately, individually.
Yeah. My last question is, so our podcast is about how you can sustain a career in basketball. You've done it through having a product, through merchandising. How have you been able to sustain in what you're doing, a full-time entrepreneur? How have you been able to take care of yourself, your family? Has this been a sustainable career for you, and how?
It's not easy, right? It's not sustainable in concept from the beginning. You have to have your foot in the door where you hear people talking about, it's a hobby for you if you don't go all in. So part of me is I can't go all in yet, just based on life scenarios. So I'm still working as a physical therapist back in the day, doing, killing myself, doing a lot. But at a certain point, you have to say, how do I jump in a little bit more where you make this your thing, right? So it's that's what you're relying on, whoever is supporting you at the time. Thanks to my wife and family fully supporting. So you kind of, take your foot off your main job for a little bit and try to go all in with this, and you just keep building to a level where you see that it can be sustainable. So we're getting to that point where we have been at that point where you could leave your primary job a little bit more and see that light at the end of the tunnel. But it's not easy. It's entertaining both. You have to survive. It's putting food, not just myself, putting food on the table for. You take your sacrifice and you leverage things a little bit from, my credit cards aren't doing the best, right? You had to, to do what I had to do, man, until you get to the point of survival. And, thanks to, we talk about, partnerships again, thanks to N1, always showing us love, bringing us on board, another, further stamps of credibility along the way, working with them. And I love Hoops, Rudy out here in Brooklyn, keep doing things for us. All these people that just keep, saying, yo, Mike, you're doing the right thing by, adding to the culture, and, yourself too. Thank you. Just always there's a lot of doubt sometimes, right? But you keep going and you keep getting like, pats on the back and stamps just when you need it. So it's like you keep going, keep going.
Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much for your time, man.
For sure.
It's always love, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's Business of Basketball. Mike Sala from SolePack, Nisha Horsey. See you on the next one.
Peace.